For years, I didn't feel enough. I know that might sound really dramatic, but understand how deep this went. I did this exercise once as part of a hypnotherapy session I did, and I had to keep asking the question why until I got to the root of it all. It started with a question, why do I do what I do? And my response was, I want to help people. And then I kept asking, why do I want to help people? Why? And when I finally got to the end of it all, the answer that came up was, I just want to feel that I deserve a spot on this earth. I want to prove that I deserve to be alive. And I cried myself to sleep that night. And part of it was finally admitting how I'd been feeling about myself all those years. And another part was the release that I could just finally stop pretending. A lot of things in my childhood led to that belief. We're not going to go into that today. But what I do want to show you is what happened next, what happened after that realization. Because despite all the initial pain of that realization, so much freedom came with it. And it completely changed how I understand why we get stuck and what actually creates lasting change and freedom. If you've been working on yourself for years, doing things like therapy, journaling, affirmations, vision boards, but you just keep ending up in the same patterns, this video is going to show you why. And more importantly, what to do instead. When I've started reflecting on my life after that realization, something became painfully clear. I had been recreating the same situation over and over again, just in different settings with different people. For example, in my relationships, every boyfriend I had either cheated on me or went out of their way to make me feel small and worthless. Yes, they were probably jerks. I'm not excusing their behavior, but what I didn't see at the time was that I went into every single relationship already feeling unworthy, already acting like I didn't deserve to be loved, to be treated well. And I chose to stay, even though the relationship was clearly unhealthy. I was drawn to people who confirmed what I already believed about myself. And then when it came to work, I took jobs with horrible management, chose to stay in those horrible places and places where I was undervalued, underpaid, and I never stood up for myself because at some level, I thought that's what I deserved. Even when I had the skills, the experience, the qualifications, I always accepted less because my baseline was I should be grateful. Anyone wants me here at all. And then at school, I self sabotage like it was my full time job. I procrastinate, convince myself, talk to myself that I couldn't understand the material, was wasting time on things that didn't matter, or study the wrong things altogether. It had nothing to do with my intelligence because at the core, I didn't believe I was capable of getting good grades or understanding the concepts. The belief came first, and then the results followed. A 1999 Harvard study actually looking at how internal beliefs, even those triggered subconsciously, directly affect performance. In the study, researchers primed Asian American women with different identities before a math test. And the results showed a dramatic shift in accuracy based entirely on the belief being activated. When their identity was linked to math proficiency, their scores jumped to 54%. And then when their identity was linked to math struggle, their scores dropped to 43%. The students were the same individuals with the same intelligence, but the results shifted by 11% simply because their brains were positively primed by confidence or negatively primed by the anxiety of a negative stereotype. As I experience, the study confirms that when we believe we aren't capable, our brains prioritize the stress of that belief over the actual task itself, making failure a self fulfilling prophecy. And then for me, there was also modeling. I thought, maybe if I can just prove that I'm pretty enough, I'll finally feel worthy, as a lot of young girls do. So I went into modeling. And what happened was I got pinched. I got criticized about my weight and size constantly. Keep in mind, I went through 2 bouts of eating disorders. I was a size 2 and probably even less. And they were still pinching the back of my arm, my belly to show me all the body fat I was carrying and I wasn't allowed to have. So I created all of these realities just to prove my story. The story of I'm unworthy and I have to prove myself to deserve to exist. Different circumstances, different people, different cities, different situations, same pattern. And what I couldn't see back then was that I wasn't attracting bad situations and they weren't happening to me for some God punishment reasons. I was recreating the same emotional state in every single new setting. So here's what was actually happening. My mind had taken that childhood belief of I am not enough and turned it into a template, a filter. Every new relationship, job, new opportunity had to run through that same lens, that same filter. I didn't see what was actually in front of me, only saw what confirmed the things that I already believed. If you know the gorilla on the basketball court study, you know exactly what I mean. If you've never heard of the study, basically researchers asked participants to watch a short video of 2 groups of people passing basketball. One group was wearing black jerseys or shirts, and the other one was wearing white shirts. Participants were told to count the exact number of passes made by the team in white. Halfway through the video, a person in a full gorilla suit walks to the center of the court, stops, thumbs her chest at the camera, and walks off. The gorilla was on screen for 9 seconds. It's a long time. The participants were so hyper focused on counting basketball passes that 50% of them completely missed the gorilla on the screen. And so this is a classic illustration of we only see what we're looking for, what we choose to focus on. So in my case, same fear, reaction, outcome, just packaged differently. When you keep returning to the same emotional state, that same not enough feeling, the doubt, the same need to prove, basically you're rehearsing and encouraging the replay of the past, playing the same old tape over and over again. Your body doesn't know the difference between an experience that's actually happening in the here and now and the one that you're emotionally replaying. So when I walked into every relationship expecting to be abandoned, my nervous system responded as if abandonment was already happening. My body went into protection mode right away, every single time. And I can feel that looking back at it now. And that state, the combination of thoughts, emotions, nervous system activation, became essentially my signal to the world, almost like a radio frequency. So essentially, I was broadcasting, guys, I'm not worthy of love, so treat me that way. My body, my words, my behavior, subconscious choices, all of it was transmitting that frequency in sync, in alignment to everybody out there. So, of course, that's what showed up in my reality. Not some God was punishing me, which I actually believed, where I had some karmic debt to pay, because I was creating from that state. So think of your reality as a mirror. What you send out is what you receive. I was only changing what I saw in the mirror rather than what was in front of the mirror, me. So if you change what's in front of the mirror, What's in the mirror naturally changes. And that's why I could change everything externally and still end up in the same patterns. New city with the same feeling of loneliness, isolation, a new job, still feeling small and unappreciated. A new relationship, same abandonment issues, new opportunities, same self sabotage over and over again. Everything changed on the outside, but the inside never changed. So, this is where most people, including me for years, made a critical mistake is they try to change that story first. I tried everything to change my story. Affirmations. I am worthy. I am enough. I am loved. I deserve love. Therapy, unpacking where beliefs came from, understanding it, working through it, going to my childhood, visualization, imagining myself in healthy relationships, successful career, confident, whole, mindset work, reading every book, listening to podcasts, listening to people speak, followed every framework. Honestly, you name it. I was consistent. I was diligent. I followed all the steps, but my body didn't believe any of the bullshit I was doing. I was trying to get into a new state from a completely dysregulated nervous system, a completely misaligned nervous system, which is where your state and your story needs to shift from. When your body is running in survival mode, anxious, tense, subconsciously, constantly scanning for proof of validation, worth, that you're enough, is physiologically impossible to access the emotional frequency of someone who already feels worthy and whole. So, actually, let me say that again. A dysregulated nervous system can only access survival based emotions, fear, urgency, control, the need to prove, the need to feel safe. It can't access the states that create what you want, which is trust, calm, sufficiency, worthiness, wholeness. So I was trying to convince my mind. I was trying to reason with my mind that I was enough by saying, hey, you're enough. Don't worry. While my body was still broadcasting what was actually going on the inside. Girl, you're not. Who are you lying to? Who do you think you're talking to? And then, of course, reality kept responding to what my body was transmitting to the world, not what my mind was trying to convince me to believe. It's like trying to change what you see in the mirror while what's standing in front of the mirror stays exactly the same. Or that friend you kept telling, you're fine, you're enough, you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah. You can say everything and anything you want, and that friend feels absolutely worthless. Words, a lot of the times, do not matter. They need to feel it physically. They need to believe it in their nervous system that they are enough. And then change can happen. And then the storyline can change. The reflection doesn't change until you change. I'm not sure why we were never taught this in school or by our parents or the people around us. People like Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, Vadim Zealand, and a lot of these people all see the same versions of the same thing. State comes before story. If your state is fear, your story will be about scarcity and your strategy will be defensive. If your state is certainty, your story will be about possibility and your strategy will be about expansiveness. Joe Dispenza talks about how you can't create a new future by thinking from your past. You have to emotionally rehearse the future you want until your body believes is already real. Neville talks about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Don't think it. You have to feel it in your body. You have to feel the state in your body. And Vadim Zealand talks about your reality as a mirror of your internal state. If you change the state, the reflection changes. They're all pointing at the same mechanism, just through different words. Your external reality is a reflection of your internal state. You can't access a new state from a dysregulated nervous system. So let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you're an entrepreneur. You're likely are an entrepreneur. You have a goal, build a $1 million business or multi-million dollar business. You know the strategy, read the books, you've taken the course, you know exactly what you need to do. But what keeps happening is you procrastinate on important things that you need to get done. Self sabotage, right? When things start working, doing great, start avoiding the sales calls. You don't follow up with leads. You continue to do things to keep your business small and safe. Now, on the surface, this looks like a strategy problem, or even maybe you're lazy or disciplined or checked out, even. But if you think about it, it's a state problem because at a subconscious level, your nervous system doesn't believe you deserve $1 million business or a multi-million-dollar business. Maybe you grew up with money is the root of all evil. Maybe you saw your parents struggle and you internalized when you were younger that successful people are greedy, or you were even told that successful people are greedy. Maybe you have a story that says, I'm not the kind of person who gets to have that, or I'm not the type of person who gets to have a lot of money. So your state is unworthy of wealth. And from that state, every action you take is filtered through that lens. You procrastinate because if you don't really try, you can't really fail. And you won't have to face the possibility that you're not worthy. You self sabotage because success would contradict your identity, and your nervous system will always choose familiarity over the unknown, even if familiar is painful. You keep the business small because small feels manageable, it's comfortable, it's safe, it's something that you've known. All your behaviors are protecting the state, and no amount of strategy will fix this. You can have the perfect business plan, the perfect funnel, the perfect offer. But if your state is, I don't deserve this, your nervous system will find a way to keep you stuck. And this is why mindset work alone doesn't work. You can affirm, I am worthy of wealth. I deserve all the wealth in the world all day long. But your body's in a state of scarcity, fear, guardedness, unworthiness. That is the frequency you're broadcasting in every single interaction. And reality responds to the frequency, not your words. It doesn't care about your words. So, what is the solution? You have to regulate your state first. You have to teach your nervous system that is safe to be successful. That wealth doesn't mean you're a bad person, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your family. You can have money and still be good. Success won't make you lose the people you love. You don't teach this to your nervous system through affirmations, through words, even just thoughts alone. You teach it through the body, through evidence. So here's what actually works for me. And this is what I teach my clients. You have to regulate your nervous system first, then you can embody a new belief. So, what this looks like practically is step one, start teaching what your body safety feels like. Safety as an experience that's felt from the inside. What does it feel like to exist without needing to be on guard all the time, to be needy all the time, to prove something to somebody? What does it feel like to be worthy of just being, not by achieving? Practice with this with your body. So this means nervous system regulation practices, breath work, movement, somatic work, nutrition that supports your nervous system, habits, and learning to release and downshift from activation. When your nervous system is calm, you can access different emotional states, and then the mindset work can come in. Back to the gorilla on the basketball court study. If you were just told to sit back and look at the video, there's no way you wouldn't notice the gorilla in the middle of the court. When your nervous system is regulated, you're locked into microscopic focuses and you miss the big picture entirely. Step two, I gave my system new evidence through small choices, small changes. Don't try to overhaul your entire life at once. You're going to get anxious. I made small choices that contradict the old states, but in a way that is intelligent and intentional. For example, staying in the discomfort of receiving a compliment instead of deflecting it. My body used to scream, they don't mean it, deflect it, make a joke, make it just go away. But I started practicing staying with it, just breathing and saying thank you and just tuning into my body, connecting to my body to let it know that it's completely safe to receive. It's just a word, it's fine. And that was evidence of I can receive without having to earn compliments. Another thing I really had to learn to do was say no to relationships that made me feel small. Even when my body screamed, what if no one else wants you? What if you end up dying alone? I used to think about that. It was terrifying because the old state was always saying any attention is better than no attention. But once I started practicing no, the crazy thing was the quality of opportunities and people coming into my world completely changed. People were flocking. And that was me essentially collecting evidence of, okay, I can be picky, I can set boundaries. Um, it gets better. That's fabulous. And the third thing I had to change was letting myself rest without earning it first. That was a huge one because I always needed or felt like I needed to earn my rest. I felt like I needed to do enough to the point where I was at the point of exhaustion and then I could rest and then I deserved rest. So I started practicing laying down in the middle of the day without having accomplished enough or, deserving enough to lay down. My nervous system used to freak out and start thinking things like, you haven't done enough, you're lazy, you're never going to go anywhere, you're wasting time. This should not be happening. It was kicking and screaming. But I did it anyway because I knew there were certain times in my body needed it. So when I started doing that and I felt more energy afterwards, I learned that, okay, that was actually really good for my body, for my nervous system, and I really, really needed it. So let's continue to do that to support my body. And I would say this one is probably one of the hardest things because it takes a little bit longer, is not as immediate. Allowing good things to happen without waiting for the other shoe to drop because I was constantly anticipating, okay, something's bad's gonna happen now. Something bad is gonna happen now. When something good happened, like, a promotion or a compliment, an opportunity, some kind of win, my nervous system would immediately scan for, okay, now what's a bad thing? What's the bad wolf that's going to jump out? When is this thing going to fall apart? What's wrong? What am I missing? What's happening? So I had to practice to stay in that good moment without making it so dramatic and making it catastrophic. So over time, I learned that good things can happen without bad things following it. So every single time I practiced these things, my nervous system was creating new neural pathways. Oh, I can be worthy without proving myself to every single person out there. And I can be safe without trying to control every little thing around me or every person around me. I can be enough without achieving every minute of every day. So slowly, most definitely not overnight, my baseline started to change. And this honestly took a while, but consistency and intention were key to that change. So, what happened when my internal state shifted was my external reality reorganized itself around it. You can say I manifested it, but not in the pop culture sense, because I personally became a different frequency and reality responded to that change. The relationships changed. I stopped attracting people who needed me to be small so they could perceive themselves to be big. I attracted a partner who loves me unconditionally and is more understanding than I could have ever dreamt of. I started attracting more and more people who saw me the way I was learning to see myself. And I was no longer broadcasting, I'm not worthy of love, but I'm whole as I am. I'm the firefly in the dark room. If you want to come to the light, please come, but I'm not going to beg for it. Different frequency, different results. In terms of work, I stopped accepting positions where I felt like I had to shrink myself. I stopped saying yes to projects that undervalued me, that I didn't feel attracted to. And I started getting to rooms where my voice was being heard and mattered, where I could actually lead from my actual capacity, my authenticity, without the need to feed my ego, because it no longer needed to feel like I need to be protected. I stopped living like I had to earn my spot on this earth. And I started operating like I already deserve to be here. Not because I'm forcing it or, brainwashing myself into it, which I kind of did in a very strategic way. But that had to be paired with nervous system regulation to access the state where it was already true. So if I haven't said this enough, you can't think your way into a new identity or a new reality. You have to regulate your way there. The belief shifts when your body has enough evidence that the new state is safe. And that evidence comes from choosing differently and consistently. Like creating a brand new path in a field. It needs to be walked on over and over again for a path to form. Choose consciously until your nervous system believes you. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in my story, if you've been changing jobs, cities, relationships, strategies, but keep ending up in the same patterns, your nervous system is just operating on old information. If you want your reality to change, state first, and then story, and then strategy, not the other way around. Your past is just a state your body kept choosing, but your future is the one you choose now. If you're ready to regulate your state so you can access the frequency of the reality you're trying to create, I built a 14-day protocol called the 14-day Inner OS. It's designed specifically to shift your nervous system from survival mode into a regulated baseline. So you can stop recreating the past and start generating a future that doesn't look like anything you've already lived. The link is in the description. But however you choose to regulate your state, just remember the change you're looking for is absolutely possible. It's just not where you've been looking for it. Stop trying to fix the reflection in the mirror. Change what's standing in front of the mirror by regulating your state. And then watch everything else shift.